Welcome to the hunting ground, where business gets real. This is Into the Lion's Den, where we build smarter, lead harder, and protect what matters most. With your host, Christian Griffin. Let's get to work.
All right, want me to start?
Yep.
All right.
I reckon.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Into the Lion's Den with your co-hosts, Mr. J.D. Stevens. He's been out for a little while, so I'm happy to see his face. We've been running the Starts With Why series, but decided to take a break for the day. So, co-host of the year, Mr. J.D. Stevens. That's the best nickname I've given so far, I think.
So far.
And you're regular here. I hope you're not getting sick of me. Christian Griffith, owner of Pride Roofing Construction. This episode is brought to you by Level Creative Studios and Pride Roofing and Construction.
No. Some things are never going to change, no matter how long I'm gone.
You're always going to be a fun hater, my friend.
I have all kinds of fun. I'm just not going to make that particular goofy noise. I make lots of goofy noises.
Not even a baby cat.
Nope. Not going to happen.
Cats are amazing creatures. In case any of you want to know, I am a cat fan. I love cats. Cats of all sizes. They're amazing. So they got the best personality on the planet. It's like they'll let you love them, but only on their terms. They treat you like you're their servant. They have this like entitled complex. They used to, guard the gates of the underworld. All those cool things. They're pretty sweet.
I mean, it's a cat.
Yeah.
Although there is nothing scarier than a big cat.
What's crazy too is they're the only mammal on the planet that has the vertical pupil. The rest are snakes. So where did that come from? What? Yeah, think about that. So
I hadn't ever really thought about that.
Pretty wild. You wonder where... I think that underworld shit's kind of real. So you blend just a savage beast with claws with the snake brain. That was pretty cool.
I mean, I haven't met any cats that I like.
I love them all, even the ones that are mean.
Yeah, I'll tolerate them for short periods of time, but outside of that, I'm good on that.
All right, so this episode is not about cats. I went rabbit holing for a little bit, or cat holing, whatever we want to call it. And anyways, what we're going to be discussing today is more of one of our just freestyle dialogues. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the type of conversation we're going to have, but what we're going to be talking about is effective communication. We've had this discussion 1,000 different ways under the sun on this podcast within the rank and file within the organization. But one of the things that we've had as a repeat theme within our walls recently, and I can give a little depth to why it's been more recent than other times, but I'm jumbling my words today. I should have slammed that monster before we got on here. But anyways, we're going to be talking about text and email communication and how it is devoid of emotion. It can be written with emotion. It can be written without emotion. But generally, the viewer or the recipient of the message is only going to be reading this message in the emotional state that they are currently in, right? So how many things can be misconstrued by not articulating yourself well or by reading things in an emotional state, and whether you're the sender or the receiver, there's a lot of things that can happen, and it can cause a lot of internal conflicts, right? So the depth that I was talking about is we're currently at the time of the year in our organization, every organization on the planet, I can't say on the planet, there are plenty of things like clothing companies and things like that where they're pretty steady flow. I guess I can't say clothing companies because they're going to sell more, when it's right around Christmas, right? But so I guess probably everybody has some form of seasonality to whatever industry that they're
Everything
in.
Does.
But in exterior construction, we can contract the work year round, which is why we're always in business, we're always communicating, we're always networking, we're always doing the things that's necessary to build the volume of the organization. But we can really only strike when the iron's hot. Literally. We can only build roofs when we have the right conditions. We can't have precipitation. We can't have temperatures too low. We can't have them too high. We can't have high wind speeds. So we're right in the middle of the year where not only do we have copious amounts of volume, which is a good thing, But we have to build everything as fast as humanly possible. So we're loading this funnel and we're trying to force things through it as fast as we can. Generally, the visual that I give to the guys a lot is, let's just imagine like a bucket. Maybe this isn't the visual I've given them, but I think this is a good way to articulate it. If you imagine a bucket that has a couple of very small holes in it, right? They're small, so when the volume of the water or the height of the water inside the bucket is small, you might see drips, you might see things that are easily manageable. There's not water all over the floor. But if you decide to build a gigantic funnel on top of that and put thousands and thousands of pounds of water inside of it and the pressure forced downward, it's not only going to spray through those holes, but it's going to expand those holes. You're going to break open every vulnerability or every problem or hole in your mechanism as wide as it corresponds, directly correlated to the amount of volume that you're forcing through there. The more volume you're pushing through, the larger the problem is going to be. So when we're in this time of the year, we have to regularly kind of slow down to speed up with our managerial team, bring them back and kind of investigate some of the conversations that are going on. Sometimes people will drift off to walkie-talkie style conversations where it's very short. It's kind of like directive. It's less, engaging. It's more do this because I said so, so on and so forth. And that's really not conducive for meeting both of the goals that you want to have simultaneously. Those goals I'm talking about are continuing internal growth culturally, making sure that everybody feels valued and everybody feels like they're part of the team, like their voice is heard, so on and so forth. It's pretty hard to continue that when you have 4 or 5 people telling everybody to do what I said or else you're fucking fired, right? Not to say that our guys do that. I'm trying to put a little bit of pizzazz on this thing, right? And then the other goal is to continue to increase that volume. You can't do both of those things simultaneously unless you're self-reflecting, you're analyzing what's going on, and you're bringing people back to correct small things before you push them back out, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the time of the year that we're in. JD is a good expert to be having behind the microphone today because he serves as the organization's HR manager, right? So in this time of the year, he'll get more complaints or more feedback or more therapy sessions than he probably would ever want to have. In fact, he's kind of been volunteered into HR, so he does it, but he does it reluctantly, But anyways, he's a great subject matter expert for this one because he gets to see and feel and experience it, and not only does he have to deal with it, but the fact that he has to deal with it makes all of the other things that he's supposed to be doing much harder, makes them stack up, makes his work days longer, and it probably builds certain kinds of resentments, right? So
it can at times. And so in this, it's not even just what we're talking about is really important, but we have 2 different types of pressure in this time of year because we're in the middle of an X of sales are still climbing. We haven't hit the downhill yet. But production, the flip side of like sales feeds production is on the downhill. Because depending on how the year goes, I mean, we've seen snow as early as October 31st. And like shut down type snow to where you can't build anymore. We'll have a few nice days where or nice weeks where we'll get the temperatures, but like, so you have the 2 teams that are in opposing positions because sales guys are still generating heavy at this time. Maybe they've come over the top of the slope and they're on the downhill now, but
don't put that juju on me.
Well, I mean, I don't want us to be there. Of like, I'm just talking
Don't you
based on.
Don't you put that juju on me, Ricky Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, we're still climbing. I think that downhill really happens October, of like they've officially hit the ramp down for the year, end of October, early November, but production, realistically, in certain markets that we work in, October 1st for like Estes, that's not an uncommon time to be like, hey, we can't build any here because we don't have the overnight temperatures no more. The wind picks up in our Cheyenne market, our Wyoming markets. The wind picks up, and if wind and the temperatures are on the low side, they're still within acceptable, but they're on the low side with wind. we can't build anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you have two types of pressure of sales guys want to get as much built this year because they want to get as much built this year because that's how they earn their commission. And production wants to get as much built this year because they don't want to carry it over to next year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a friction point right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we start to see exactly what we're talking about, the walkie-talkie type conversation. It becomes this is missing, fix it. No, like, or it's, there's a problem, fix it.
Mm-hmm.
What problem?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, okay, I'm willing to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the problem is.
Yep.
So now I have to do the research to find out what problem you found when you could have just told me what was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm starting from the same point you are, so we can resolve it quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that when people are moving quickly, when there's speed of like, I have to get through these things because of X, Y, and Z, of I have all these reasons, so I have to get through my stuff. And so a problem for you is not a problem for me, so I'm just going to tell you that there's a problem and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it would be faster for both of you if you just said, hey, this is what's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Please fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now I know where to start from instead of having to send a message back to find out what you're seeing that I'm not.
Well, there's even more layers to this, right? So let's say it goes from production to sales, right? When we talk production, we're talking about the actual construction end of the organization. It's not front-end sales loading, volume loading. It's we're actually going to perform the services that have been sold, right? And so you get a message from production to sales that says, this is wrong, fix it. I'm not doing anything with this until this is corrected, right? Which can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, like I said, depending on the emotional state of the person reading it. But if you have salespeople who are burning the candle at both ends, everybody in the organization is currently burning the candle at both ends. We're accumulating a lot more than 40 hours per person at this time of the year, right? But this salesperson might be in the field for the next 3 days, right? They might not have any time to actually fix this particular problem, right? So this message that's really unhelpful, non-teamwork style message where, hey, I've got your back, I've fixed this thing, here's what I did for you, and it's more, you got to fix this thing, it's not going anywhere. The salesperson not only has to fit that back into their long, tenuous task list that's sitting there building in copious amounts while they're in the field generating more sales, but when they come back, they also have to remember that discussion actually happened. Right? So you have a new introduction, which is potential delays, right? If it's not communicated effectively, no teamwork is given in this scenario. And so the guys that watch this that are actually part of the organization, I'm using this as an example. Everybody's guilty in all departments. So I'm just using this example, but I can speak more confidently towards this example because I've worked in the sales end of the operation more than I've worked in any other area of the operation, regardless of owning the business or whatever. But they have to come back. They not only have to do it in the list of, the chronological list or prioritized list of things that they've done. This might not be that big of a deal in comparison to the other deals, but they have to remember to do it. And then they also have to find the time to do it as well. So it's like we're introducing something that the entire organization is always trying to avoid, which is avoiding reputation issues. When there's not teamwork, when there's poor direction, when there's maybe people don't do something because they're like pissed off at the other person for not being a team player or whatever, but you can't say that I do that regularly, but I have seen that happen very regularly. It's like, oh, screw this guy, I'm just not going to do that for him, right? That ultimately is a burden on the homeowner, on the customer. Right? That delay of however long it takes to get back to this thing that could have been dealt with much more effectively through proper communication now turned into a lag time of 3 days, 4 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the case may be.
21 days.
And if people are pouring volume in the amounts that they are right now, a 20-day delay could turn this job that was supposed to start a week from now into a job that starts 2 months from now.
Or next February. Right? These are big problems. They can all be avoided through teamwork and effective communication. And there's lots of little ways that we talk about this as far as the communication is the biggest point on this, and we keep driving it home because, again, it's something. I swear it's the heat.
Yeah.
It seems like we deal with way more.
This heat.
This room is hot, but it feels like we deal with way more of this when it's hot.
Oh yeah.
People's tempers are just shorter.
Flared, right? I mean, how long is your fuse when you're working in 102-degree burning heat in the center of the day, in comparison to when you're kicking back on the couch in the middle of Thanksgiving? It's very different. You deal with a lot more the more comfortable you are. Right? So you got a Molotov cocktail flying at you right now. You should probably jump ahead of it. Right?
Correct. It's gonna burn you. Yeah. So, one of the things I stress with the guys of like, how do we avoid these type of things? Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna speak very slowly for this part. We always talk about when we talk about something slowly, it's probably important.
Note to everybody. Good communicators are better listeners.
They are.
Better listeners understand that when somebody slows down and or repeats themselves, that's the emphasis of the conversation.
So I talked about this in a meeting, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. And it's a principle called Harlan's razor, which is don't ascribe something to malice that could be described by idiocy, is what it says. I don't use that in the context of our business. Don't ascribe something to malice that could just be ignorance, inexperience, lack of knowledge, accident. Mm-hmm. Like, don't immediately assume something is malice just because it was done wrong. Mm-hmm. But also, when those situations are going on, frustration climbs. Mm-hmm. When you have the frustration response, the best thing you can do is remove yourself from the situation. Mm-hmm. However, there are appropriate ways to do this.
Sorry. I'm laughing at a inside joke from a previous meeting that happened this week about this particular thing.
So,
shout out to the boys. You know who you are.
If you have already crossed and I'm guilty of this, so that's why I speak to it very often. Mm-hmm. If you've already crossed the threshold of, I am pissed off, F this guy, I don't want to hear anything he has to say, he's a whatever, all of the negative words you say in your head, excuse yourself from the conversation. That is not fuck this and walk off, because all that's going to do, especially if it's a manager or somebody above you, is make that manager want to write you up, fire you, suspend you, whatever it is. There's a lot of action that can be taken there. Mm-hmm. Have conversations that then take up a bunch of my time or HR's time. Mm-hmm. Don't ever walk away from a manager or a conversation with a significant other or a friend. Don't just turn around and walk off because you're frustrated. Put both hands up. Say, I have hit the point where I can no longer hear you because I am frustrated. And that's, the double hands up is a stop. You're telling the person that you're talking to stop. Double hands up. Please stop. That's a body language identifier. Mm-hmm. Most people will inherently just stop if they see both hands come up and look at you. Put both hands up and say, I am incapable of hearing what you have to say because of my mental state at this moment. Because we have officially crossed the threshold where I'm just mad. Mm-hmm. This is unproductive because I will not remember what you're going to say, or I'm going to completely discount what you're going to say, even if it's right. That's what I'm guilty of.
Or I'm going to interpret what you're going to say in the wrong manner. I'm going to interpret it as malice, even if it's constructive.
Yes. And so you put your hands up and say, I need to step away from this for a few minutes. And step away.
Sorry, I'm getting sign language from the producer over here.
Sorry, I was like, when I presented the contract, you took it with, you're like, fuck, like, this is, like, Lachlan, you're trying to just, like, screw me over here. And I'm over here like, no, I'm trying to help you. Good example, sorry.
And so that's one of the most powerful tools, especially somebody who has a short temper, gets frustrated easily, things like that. That's a very powerful tool. Please stop. I am no longer capable of hearing you, but this is not a cop-out either.
Well, you also have to commit yourself to returning to the conversation.
Correct, and that's the second part. You don't just walk away. You explain why I need to walk away right now. I'm no longer capable of hearing you.
Well,
I would like to reconvene in 20 minutes.
I can speak to this in personal life. Any of you that have spouses or significant others or whatever, I can tell you from experience that I've tried it both ways. One is acceptable, the way he's describing it. One of it only fuels the fire, right? Because the other person on the other side interprets it as disregard for their emotions, for their feelings, and ultimately for whatever they're trying to express, right? As in, you're more important than they are. You want to have control and put them in a subservient position. Whatever you want to interpret it as, it's never going to be the right interpretation.
Because they're also, more than likely, if the conversation has hit this point for one of you, it's close or has hit that point for the other person also. So somebody has to be willing to walk away for everybody's benefit. And this is, like you were saying, this is not just in work.
Yeah.
This is a thing to keep in mind in personal situations of, I'm a yeller. When I get angry, I yell. That's not healthy. It's not beneficial. Walk away. And come back in 20 minutes after you've had a chance to calm down.
But you'll have to commit yourself to returning, and you'll also have to commit to the timeline. That's the other part that's there. It's about, when I say effective communication, there has to be resolution involved with what's happening, right? And this is, we can go back to the walkie-talkie conversation and why I have such problems with that. But, if you're going to put your hands up and say, I have to stop right here. I'm so mad I can't hear you right now, and I would like to actually get somewhere with this conversation. So let me step outside for 5 minutes, get a breath of air. I hope you do the same thing, and we'll come back, right? That has real resolution. It's got timelines, and it's got steps for you to be accountable to. Right.
Because ultimately your anger is your thing. You can't put that on the other person. This isn't an escape. This isn't a runaway. This is a tool to be effective. And the reason I start with this before I talk about like the talking on text message and things like that is, you're responsible for your mental state. You're responsible for your emotions. I am not responsible for Christian's emotions. I'm responsible for mine. So I have done it a dozen times, probably way more than that, let's be honest, in my life, where like I've sent a message and it's just like, okay, thanks, cool. Or just like, okay, thanks. And then somebody gets it on the other side and they're like, wow, F that guy.
JD's a dick.
Yeah. And I was totally thrilled of like.
Well, and some of this I've been told is also a product of your generation and what you're under, like how immersed have you been with technology, right? You're communicating with somebody in Gen X to Gen Z. Gen X person might give a thumbs up emoji because thumbs up means okay, cool. Gen Z looks at it and they say, man, this guy just gave me the fuck you. And I've been told that this is exactly how it's interpreted by that generation and vice versa. Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I hate emojis. Don't use emojis in professional conversation. Just don't.
Or follow up to an emoji with a statement that actually gives tone.
Sure. I'm one of those people. I don't like text messages. I love technology, but if I could make text messages disappear tomorrow, I would. That has nothing to do with other than the fact of I have been in more trouble in my life over poorly thought out text messages or mistypes or.
Well, just think about the judgment you give to a text message, right? I personally do not use acronyms. I purposely use grammar. I purposely use punctuation because I feel like if I'm going to state something, I want it to be reflective of the way that I would want to be interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
But then if I get a text message that's like 14 acronyms and the words that are not acronyms are spelled incorrectly, or there's no punctuation, therefore it's hard to interpret where the maybe the sentence
The
stops.
thoughts ended.
You know what I mean? I get irritated because it makes me feel like this person doesn't care enough to give me the time of day to speak to me like a normal person.
See, and that's where I struggle with text message because when I first started texting, you were charged for like every message, and so, and then you were typing, the three buttons. So like, you did a lot of leaving stuff out because it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, right. You gotta click it 3 times.
You gotta click it 3 times to get it, whatever it is.
Those phones are fun for one reason: Snake. You remember Snake?
I remember Snake.
Snake was fun. It's a game. I just aged us, but there you go.
No, I mean,
but
yeah.
Either way, like text message conversation really should be minimized to simple yes/no type of question and answer, because that's a powerful tool. But it's also something that text messages should only be used when there's no time sensitivity to the conversation either.
Yes.
Right? Because if you're anything like me, I have 2 cell phones. I have 4 email addresses. My phone rings on both cell phones or it rings or I ring to somebody else. I go outbound. Anywhere from 60 to 100 times in a day on one phone, 10 to 20 on the personal phone. The 4 emails that I have usually are somewhere between 20 to 50 emails per email in a single day's time.
Mm-hmm.
There is opportunity for me to miss things in that. If I open a text message in the middle of a meeting that requires an articulated response,
I'm not going to answer.
I'm going to set it down, and then I'm going to try to come back to it, but chances are I'm going to forget because some other priority just took its place in that time lapse, right? I do this all the time, especially on my personal phone. My family members, they probably question how in the hell I've ever been able to be semi-successful in business because I can't even finish a conversation with them in less than 3 days that could have taken 20 minutes or 10 minutes or 2 minutes on a phone call because of that particular instance, right?
I've communicated that to my family and my friends. Mm-hmm. If you need an answer from me about something pressing, you just need to call me.
Call me, right?
Well, you don't answer your phone. Well, that depends. Are you calling me 3 times back to back? Don't do that if you're in business.
Yeah.
Don't call someone multiple times back to back because that's the quickest way to get someone to red out.
Yeah. Well, it's like the boy who cries wolf in that scenario. It's like if I received a call from somebody within business 3 times in a row, I'm assuming something's on fire. Something's on fire, yep. Right? This is bad, right? And then if I pick up the phone and they're like, "Where do I find gutter color swatches?"
I'm gonna want to.
I want to rip your entire head right off. I don't just want to slap you. I want to rip it right off. It's like my time is much more valuable than that, and you just made me pull out of whatever my priority was to answer a question about gutter swatches, or whatever, right? Insert in the blank here.
Whatever it is.
Right? And so, yeah, there needs to be decorum to conversation. There needs to be actual thought behind, is this a phone call? Is this an in-person conversation? Is this text message worthy? We just laid it out for you. What's text message worthy? Non-time sensitive, yes, no type of questions, right? And why? So let's talk about communication in general.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about communication in general. I've heard lots of statistics around this, and I'm probably butchering this, but 80% of communication, give or take, depending on which readout and, I guess statistical analysis you're going off of, about 80% of conversation or communication is nonverbal. Just wild statistics. Is a wild statistic, right? It's like, so 80% of what you're interpreting is not the words that I'm actually saying. It's my body position, it's my tone, it's my eye contact, it's inference, right? It's all of those things all boil down into one, right? When you're text messaging somebody, there are ways to capture the emotion you're trying to give to somebody, right? Bolded letters, and capitalized sentences with 20 exclamation points, and maybe throw a few emojis in there with angry faces. Yeah, I guess this is really you're mad at me, right?
I 100%, if I got a text message like that, by the way, would not respond.
Yeah. So you're the guy that's like, fuck you, I'm not going to respond.
You send me something like that, it's like, you should have, if you're this angry, you should have just called me.
Yeah, right. So, but unfortunately, there's no syntax, right? There's no real interpretation of tone. You can't tell what your body language is like, right? So you're automatically, and goes to the first thing that we talked about, which is the person receiving the message, if it's in text form, whether that's email or text messages or whatever, or group chats or whatever, the person receiving it is going to read it in whatever their emotional state is. If that person is mad, they're going to assume malice. They're going to assume vindictive, assume asshole, insert in the blank, right? If they're in a good mood, they're going to assume, okay, this message was lighthearted, it's very simple, it's whatever. That okay, thanks is going to be interpreted for what it was. Okay, thanks, right? So you can really get yourself in a lot of debacles by not understanding this. A lot.
And not understanding, they're also going to apply the context of whatever the last conversation you had was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if the last conversation you had, you left on a negative tone,
Mm-hmm.
anything after that point where they can't see you,
Mm-hmm.
they're just going to assume it's the same tone,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's been 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of like, oh, this person's still mad at me.
Yeah.
I was over that the second you walked away.
Yeah, well, I won't say any. Well, never mind. Let me cut that part. I was about to say could be interpreted as sexist, but gender things here. Men definitely don't carry things nearly as long as women do.
I strongly. I'm going to go beyond gender. I'm going to say personality types.
Yeah, that's even better.
There are certain personality types that are going to carry crap forever.
Oh yeah,
then there's others that are just like meh.
Elephant-brained people scorned one time, forever tainted.
I think that comes more to the personality of the person than it does the gender. Because I've known dudes that hold on to things way longer than.
I've met a few of them in my life. I'm like a golden retriever, dude. That was 2 minutes ago, and that was long enough for me to forget.
I get asked this all the time. Like, I'll be in. I don't know if my focused face is just like resting bitch face or something. Of like, because I'll just be in my office, like behind my desk working, like zoned in.
Mm-hmm.
Someone will come in and be like, "You're mad," and it's just like, "What? Who are you?" And then you're like, because I'll come out. It's almost. I don't like to use the word disassociate lightly, but it kind of feels like that at times where it's just like I was focused and you came in and started talking, and because of part of who I am, if I'm not looking at you, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
I have to at least initially give you my, like, I'm responding to you now. Even if I go back to what I was doing, I have to at least look at you so that my brain's like, oh, we need to listen to this person. I can hear you just fine. It's just I don't process it. Yeah. And so that's the other part of this of like with communication is knowing the people of
know your audience.
I've known Christian for a really long time, and I'll get asked this question regularly of like, Christian seems frustrated today, and I'll be like, huh? I'm just like, what do you mean Christian seems frustrated? And he doesn't seem frustrated at all. And I'll like look in your office, and you're just like sitting there. You're just like working. And I'm just like, yeah, Christian's not frustrated. Because I can tell by the way he sits. Because I've known him for so long. And some of this comes from like, I compared it in audio. When you work with a musician for a really long time, you get to a point where you know what they need just based on their body movement. So I worked with like in worship, specifically for like churches. John, the guy that I worked with a lot, I got to a point where based on the way he turned his head, I knew what he needed.
Uh-huh.
Of like, oh, he needs more of his voice in his headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on the way he turned his head, held his guitar, you get to that. And anyone that you know for a long time,
It's called a covenant relationship.
is it?
Covenant relationship is where you understand the other person just merely how they present, how they're presenting themselves.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But you do this with lots of people throughout your life. Some people I think are probably more sensitive to it than others.
And some people show differently too. Like there are some people who show their emotions on their face differently, and it's just the way that it is. Some people, it's not on their face. It's in their shoulders. It's in how they sit. Are they sitting upright or are they slouched? Is it, that type of stuff.
And so I'm not a great written communicator. It is one of my weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm very good at communicating myself verbally. I stumble over my words a lot, but that's my brain speed and my mouth speed are not in sync. So I find myself being misunderstood a lot verbally. So I use ChatGPT a lot, which people are like, oh, really? And it's like, no, it has helped me immensely because I tend to be emotional in the way that I speak. Not that that's negative or any of those kind of things, but I tend to just, whatever I'm feeling comes out through the way I write. Text messages, all that kind of stuff. So I'm bringing context to all of that. That's why I speak so fervently about this, is I know that I do it. And I'm probably one of the worst about doing it. So I intentionally sanitize my communication. I don't love that word, but I intentionally run it through something to help me catch tone of voice that I'm not intending to convey.
It's a very valuable tool. I mean, if you understand how to prompt AI, you can say, this is my message, make it sound professional, also give it a tone of X, right? Very simple. It's like, I want this to be read this way, right? Punches it right out, and it's how you intended to get the communication across, right?
Correct. And that's why I use those tools for myself, is because I have accidentally put myself in situations where people were frustrated with what I said because of the word choice. And so all of that factors into this. And so if you know you happen to be one of those people that tends to be more emotional in the way that you speak, that's a way to it's helped me become a better writer. I don't rely on it as much as I did 6 months ago. I feel more comfortable writing emails now.
What gave you enough examples that you are starting to get it?
I'm starting to understand of how I'm responding, and I'm catching it. Of it's something I didn't realize I was doing until it was pointed out to me, and then I had essentially someone show me how I was doing it. And now that I've started seeing those, I'm like, okay, so that's how I can convey the tone that I actually want to convey, simply based on word choice of things like removing I when I'm speaking about something for the company. This is a we statement. That's been huge for me, of I'm not mad at you and I'm not forcing you to do something. I'm asking you to be compliant with something we have established.
We as an organization expect this standard of performance. Here is where your performance misses or disaligns with that standard. So here's what we would like to do to help you get there. Whole different than, hey, you fucked up.
Yeah. Or I'm really unsatisfied with the way that you've been performing, and here's how I can help you be better. F you, guy.
Excuse me?
It feels completely different.
Yeah.
And we joke about it all the time of sometimes it feels too touchy-feely. And the communication, the way that we have to communicate now versus the way that even 5 years ago we had to communicate can be incredibly frustrating.
It is, but it's just like anything else. It's like the conversation we had in here on artificial intelligence. adapt to survive,
Mhm.
right? In business, in life, you have to adapt to the world around you. If you can't mold yourself, if you can't be flexible, if you always have to stay rigid in everything that happens, you're working against the grain the majority of the time. And anytime you're working against the grain, not only is it rough at the finish, but you lose a lot more energy as you do it, right? Therefore, your tenure is probably going to be a lot less, right? You're probably become more reclusive. You might pull yourself out of this position and put yourself in another position where you don't have to deal with so many, prissy and soft-skinned douchebags, or whatever, right? Like, but that is the wrong mental state you should be in. If you want to grow, you have to become vulnerable. You have to become willing to adjust, willing to hear feedback, willing to be coachable, willing to do the work that's necessary to get to the next level, right? You have to achieve things in your life, otherwise you're dying, right? So maybe that reclusive, decision has helped people in the past because they found a real niche for themselves. But when they get to the top of the hill and to the highest, the highest room of the tallest tower and whatever that growth path took them to, it's probably going to be pretty lonely because you did it by yourself and there's nobody else there, right? At the end of that's what I consider to be success, is like you're with the people you love the most all the time, and you have the ability to do that because you're financially free enough to do it. That's what I feel like success is, right? So, okay, looking at the time, I want to do a couple little pieces here. So,
okay.
We've talked about in-person conversations, how you can give visual cues, and you can separate yourself by, identifying a timeline and basically stating why we have to separate and when we're going to come back. That's really valuable. In communication, you've talked about utilizing technology or AI to be able to help you get the right conversation or the right words or the right phrases together to be able to communicate. That's really valuable. What other tools and tricks can we give to the audience in non-in-person conversations to help them make their way through this?
Give more detail than you think is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a condescending way, but provide. The person doesn't know what you're thinking, and I think we forget that.
So provide context.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think context is one of the things that's missing the most often and what causes the most frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you need from me.
Mm-hmm.
Provide context. Then they know.
That's very valuable. Other things, so we've referred to this on this podcast before. I can't even remember which episode or why we brought it up, but we brought up theta response. So you could do the same thing with non-in-person communication, as throwing your hands up and stepping away to come back more emotionally intact. You can do the same thing. You can wait to respond until I'm gonna butcher things if I try to talk about physiology, but it's called the theta response, right? When you're in that highest emotional position that you're going to be with whatever this little altercation or hiccup is, step away from it, do something else, think about something else until your emotions have regulated before you respond, right? That's a very valuable tool. And I can give you a very clear example of why this is detrimental if you don't take this advice. I once, when I worked in the gym industry, I had worked my way up into a really, authoritative position. I was at this point in time, I was the district manager overseeing all of the Colorado operations for this gym company. I think at that point we had 5 gyms or something like that, in Colorado anyways, right? There was somebody that was hired who was, I will not name names, but was not the guy who should be hired. He was a family member, had no experience, and I had a chip on my shoulder because of it. And he was hired into a position that was exactly the same as mine without earning it. He wasn't in Colorado. He was in a different state. And I don't know, it was a random day, call it a Thursday, I don't know. Sends me an email that says, they called me Crime at that point in time. My name was Crime Dog. That's a whole nother story for another day. It's not what you think that it is. I looked like baseball player named McGriff, who they called the crime dog, and my last name is Griffith, and it all just kind of stuck. But anyways, he sends, hey, will you send me all of your processes and managerial tools that you've created over time so that I can use them to do my job?
No.
And instead of realizing that I should step away from this for a second and articulate myself, maybe just ask why, maybe ask what maybe does he need some assistance, whatever. I basically shot back, you don't deserve the job that you have. I'm not giving you the things that I've taken 5 years to develop. You don't deserve them. And without saying fuck off, I said fuck off, right? What I didn't know was the only boss that I had was the person who asked him to send this email. He was also BCC'd to the email, right? And my response was very transparent. In that, what could have been 20 minutes of, letting the emotions draw back instead of firing off that response, in that timeline, within that hour, I received a phone call that I lost 3 of my 5 gyms, which meant in that position, I was told Wes, the other guy, so I didn't name a name, but nobody knows him, so it's okay, was going to take over 3 of my 5 gyms, which meant, because we were on a low salary, high bonus structure, position, that meant I lost 3/5 of my bonus potential over an email response. My maximum financial opportunity for the year was, let's just say I lost about $40,000 worth of pay off of an email that never came back. Right? So I'm speaking from experience here, right? It was a very poor choice, and all I needed to do was emotionally regulate myself for a second and respond articulated, with context, and with a little bit more empathy.
That's another good point of communication, especially non-in-person communication, because we've had the exact same thing happen in the building. To me, I sent out an email on behalf of you and got an incredibly negative immediate response.
We didn't give context.
We didn't give context.
The delivery was
not amazing.
Not pointing a finger at you or the way you delivered it, but the way it was received, right? So I understood what was said. The other people who did not, because there was no context to it. There was no preparation. There was none of that stuff. So either way, the stuff that we are talking about can be detrimental to your growth. It 100% can be detrimental to the organization's function and efficiency. It's very useful things. So regardless of if it's dry, it is something that you will experience and you will understand, and these words will resonate for you when it happens. So please just take the advice.
And you'll experience over and over again, especially as you bring more and more people on.
Yeah. Be conscientious. If you're in a leadership position, be conscientious of delivery, right? You can get your point across in, there's 1,000 ways to skin the cat. You can get your point across, but telling somebody to do it because I said so does not yield the same result or the same ongoing result as, I need you to do this because in the organization, here are the expectations, here's where we fell short, and so if you can adjust this, here's where we're going to go. Took 20 seconds longer, but it gave you a pathway to success. Right?
I can honestly say, of complaints of employees being frustrated with a manager, 9 times out of 10, I can boil it back to tone. Everyone has a different tone that they need to be spoken to. I hate it. I also get it. Everyone has a way that they need to be spoken to. And that's one of, I would say, management's greatest failings is, I want to talk to Andy the same way I talk to Jenny. Jenny was raised one way. She had a hard-nosed dad. She can take any criticism regardless of how it is. Andy was raised a different way. Never had any criticism in his whole life. He's new to this. New to criticism, constructive or otherwise. And doesn't know how to handle it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get it. It's hard, but you need to know your team well enough to be able to give criticism that way or conversation that way.
There are reasons why your local Barnes & Noble or bookstore has probably 3 to 5 racks of leadership books,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're tailor-fit management, understanding your people, understanding your delivery. All of these things matter. These books were written by people who experienced these things, and they want you to avoid their downfalls,
Mm-hmm.
right? Life can be easy if you soak in the wisdom around you. It can be very hard if you just insist on trial and error.
One of these days, we'll give a recommendation of I'll give a recommendation of all the HR books I've been reading to become good at what I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was a
Reading.
lot.
You know, they forced us to do it as kids, and now I yearn for it as an adult. So
I have
build your brain just like you build your body, just like you build your business. It's
Mhm.
important. Put the reps in. So, all right, you got anything else?
I don't have anything else for this conversation.
I think it was a good one. So it was freestyle riff, but obviously we were emotionally charged towards it because we are speaking from experience. You take these things and you run with them. You can make it through even the roughest of waves. You can be the best captain of the ship ever. So I think that's it. Yep. So we appreciate the time that you spent watching this video. Please like and subscribe, engage in our content, ask us some questions. Never hesitate to direct message us. We are actively, so we're working on that Start With Why series, but one of the things I'd like to do and become a little bit more, put more emphasis on is bringing in other leaders, other industry, whether it's industry leaders, coaches, whatever, or business owners, to talk about it from your perspective. So if you are one of those people who's one of our regular listeners and you'd like to be on, just shoot us a message or shoot me a text. We'd love to get you on as soon as possible. Let's become better together.
I agree completely. We'd love to have as many local businesses as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We all the ships rise together.
We certainly do. All right. Catch you on the flip side.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Into the Lion's Den. We appreciate your time, and we hope that you've gathered enough ammunition to go out, fight the good fight, and become a better person every single day. Please like and subscribe, engage in our content, ask us some questions. We'd love to tailor fit the next episode to you.